everybody, Kathy Tooley. Thanks for joining us again today. So today I want to talk about classroom management. Dum, 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 right? Classroom management. I think that in the 10 years that I was a principal, classroom management was either, as I went into teachers' classrooms, my worst nightmare, where I just did this, thinking, how are they learning? Or it was just a non-discussion. Really was a non-discussion. There was no in between. No in between. And I lay bet that most administrators watching this are like, oh my goodness, she just said that. I did. Classroom management is such a critical component to teaching that it is without question the foundation of your classroom. Highly effective classroom management makes learning happen, and chaos makes chaos happen. So I want to give you just a couple of tools today. I can't possibly in a YouTube video explain everything that I think that anyone with not strong classroom management could have. But what I can do is give you some really good resources unless or until I get to work with you personally in your school. So let me go to my handy dandy document camera. If you do not have this book, I want you to get on Amazon. I want you to pause this video right now and purchase it. There are lots of good resources you're going to hear me refer to in YouTube videos, future YouTube videos, that have really been good for me. They've been great books for me to read, and I've really enjoyed it. This is a game changer. When I have any of my friends who have children who are graduating from college and they're going into school, this is what I buy them. And as you could see by the little, let me scoot this down a little bit. As you could see by all the tags in my book, it is well loved and well used. Harry and Rosemary Wong. So I want to give credit where credit is due. Harry and Rosemary Wong wrote a Bible here for every educator. It breaks down everything from classroom management to rules to procedures. And one of the things that Harry Wong says all the time is procedures, procedures, procedures make a classroom. So if you don't have this book, my very first tidbit to you is get it. And if you don't want to purchase it, go to any library. Any local library will have this book. I promise you your principal's got this book. So you could borrow it if you don't want to purchase it. Although I'm telling you, you're going to get through the first 3 pages and think, I want to mark all over this, as you could see I have. But this is where I would invite you to go first and foremost. It'll really help you on your journey. And I invite you to have this book whether you're a first-year teacher or a 20-year teacher who just doesn't seem to be able to get classroom management under your belt. I promise you there's something in this book that you are going to see that's going to make a difference for you, that's going to help you have better classroom management. So let me pause just a second to talk about something that I know is the elephant in the room. And that is, I used to have teachers say to me quite often, but Kathy, we don't ever let kids just be. You know, if they want to just run around the classroom because it feels good to run around the classroom, then I don't think we ever let kids just be. And my response to that is, can you teach while they're running around the classroom? Can you teach while that senior's head is down, asleep, snoring and drooling? Can you teach while those kids have their phones out? Are they learning anything when they are sleeping? Are they learning anything while they have your textbook open and a magazine in front of it? If you answered yes to all of those, then you know what? Stop this video because you already have all the answers. But if you said, well, of course not, then maybe you want to listen on. Classroom management is not something that is just born. It is learned. It is learned. And so my goal today is to just give you some more tips. So let me refer back to my camera. Remove this book. Everybody got this title? The First Days of School by Harry and Rosemary Wong. Get this book. And I'll tell you what else I'm going to do because I'm feeling like a giver right now. Send me an email that you've read this. Send me an email that you've shared it. And maybe, just maybe, there could be a free book coming your way. Maybe. We'll see. Harry and Rosemary talk about lots of procedures that we need to look at. You can't possibly see all of these, and I know you can't, but I'm going to show you and highlight just a few and move this paper up so you can see some of them. If you want a copy of this document, send an email, and it should come across the bottom of the screen right here, info@kathytooley.com, and I will send you this document. But I just want to highlight some things that I want you to make sure you're addressing in your room. Make sure that all of your policies are outlined. Tardies, cheating, makeup, how we take notes, where you put your assignments. I'm not going to read the rest of these. You're educators, you can read them. But you've got to outline these and teach these procedures. How do they hand in papers? What do they do when they are absent? What do we do if they missed a test or quiz? You shouldn't have to explain that every single time it happens. You teach the procedures. Make sure that you've included grading practices for those that are appropriate. I'm speaking specifically here on a secondary level. Grading scales, grading weights, this is critical. Daily procedures. What do you do when you enter the room? How do you exit the room? What do we do for tardies? What do I do when a pass comes for you? How am I going to have you show me that you understand? These procedures have to be taught. And I don't care if they're seniors in high school, because the procedures in my room look different than the procedures across the hall. Procedures in my room look different than the math class they just left. The procedures in my room look different than what they did last year with this teacher. If you want kids to behave in a certain way, you have to teach them the procedures that they need to know in order to behave that way. And then a couple more I want to address. What do you do when they're absent? How do you expect them to come to attention? Elementary teachers are the best at this. I have to give kudos to my elementary colleagues. They've done the 1, 2, 3s. They've done the clapping. And it's funny, we get into high schools and think, well, they should just know it when I'm ready to start. Really? Because our predecessors have taught them. So what do you want to do? How do you want to handle transitions when we go from one activity to another? All of these procedures have to be taught. And again, if you want that email to you, drop me an email at info@kathytooley.com and I'll be happy to send it to you. So let me wrap it up with a few thoughts. Just a few thoughts when it comes to overall classroom management. The success of any procedure you have is one word. Ready? Consistency. Consistency. Students have to know that if whether they're late to your classroom on a Tuesday or a Friday or a Monday when you're in a bad mood or on a Thursday when it's been the best day ever, the same thing will happen. And what gets us often in trouble as educators is we make lots of threats, empty threats, with no consistency to the promise. And the moment that a student realizes that you are not going to follow through on that, or that you really only dole out the detentions when you're in a bad mood, or you really only punish certain kids while other kids get by with it, you are done. And your classroom management plan is toast. So first thing is consistency. Secondly, practice the procedures when they're appropriate. So the first time, I always said, that's why I kind of always, the first of the school year is like this, because the first time we have to take a quiz, I have to teach them what taking a quiz looks like in my room. The first time we go get the dry erase boards, I have to teach them what it means to go get dry erase boards in my room. The first time we take a test, I have to teach them what it means to take a test in my room. The first time we make a transition from this activity to the other, I have to teach them what it means to make a transition in my room. The first time that they come into a room, I have to define what a tardy is. Does a tardy mean just making it through the door? Or my tardy was, very simply, your butt in your seat or you're late. Not by the pencil sharpener, not by the door, not talking to a friend, not talking to me. When that bell rings, this little tushy better be down. But that doesn't mean that's yours. You have to teach procedures when they're ready to be taught. I always wondered when I went into teachers' classrooms and they're spending 6 hours on the first day or an entire class period lecturing them about procedures. Do you think they're going to remember that? So the second time we take a quiz, because I already taught them a procedure on the first time, I'm going to say things like, wait a minute, stop. What do we do when we take a quiz in here? Oh, we put our books under our desk. That's right. So let's start with that. Secondly, what should you have on your desk? Right. Just a pencil. That's right. So why am I still seeing phones? Why am I seeing makeup? Why am I seeing your hairbrush? Okay. I'm not disrespecting anyone, but they have forgotten. And I will keep teaching that procedure until I get ready to give a quiz and it's lockstep. Books are going under, nothing on the desk. They're sitting with their pencil waiting for me to give it out. Then I know I don't have to teach the procedure again because they've got it. So that next step is teach procedures when they are appropriate, as they come up. Always try to introduce some kind of new procedure each day, especially those first few weeks of school. Especially for the little ones, because they can't handle too much more than that. So try to do a new procedure each day. What it looks like to go to the carpet, what it looks like to go back to our reading circles, what it looks like to go to stations, what it looks like to come back from stations. So teach each of those daily, if at all possible. I've already mentioned consistency. And then the last thing I want to say is this. Students who have structure in their learning achieve at higher results. That's a fact. I can quote you more data. And for those of you that really want to know, send me an email, info@kathytooley.com, and I'll send you enough data to nauseate you. Classrooms that have structure, that have a clear, defined purpose, have higher achieving students. Period. They just do. Because kids like to know what's going to happen. If you're on an interstate, we have a structure to driving on an interstate, right? It's called a speed limit sign. So if you're surpassing that speed limit sign and get caught, none of us sit back and say, what? That's completely against the structure. The structure said 55, 65, 70, whatever it is. And we know that if we don't do that, there are repercussions to that. Our whole life is built on structure. I know that when I dump a liquid in something, I have to stir it to mix it. Because I know the structure of a liquid, if I want it with a dry, has to be blended. I understand that structure. Your classroom is no different. Your students have to understand that there is structure, there is meaning, there is purpose to the rules that you're asking them to do. And that structure will make all the difference in your classroom management plan. So, hopefully that's been helpful. I know that's not a ton of tips, but hopefully it's a few that'll help you at least get started. If it's been helpful, remember my 2 asks. If you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button and follow along for future videos that we're going to have very similar to these, where we continue to give you tools for your classroom. And please share this with any other educator friend of yours that you know could benefit from using this. And as always, let me end by saying this. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you especially for the difference you're making in kids' lives every single day. Have a great day, everyone.